Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Alekhya.
And I'm Divya. I hope all of you are feeling okay, and I hope you guys had a good meal. Alekhya and I have been friends for over 15 years, and we've been meditating together for over 10 plus years now. Being here at Pyramid Valley doing this, definitely a full circle moment. We're so happy, so excited to speak to you guys about journaling. It's definitely something very close to our heart, so we'll just get started.
Can we have the PPT? Right, so all of us must have seen this phrase before, right? Dear Diary. So raise your hands. How many of you have thought journaling is something teenage girls do on the bed? You know, dear diary, today I spoke to my crush. How many of you used to think that or do think that? Okay. How many of you think that journaling is just making a list of things I have to do today, planning my day, to-do list? Okay, I have to go to the office, I have to buy things, etc., etc. Okay, very good. And how many of you think speaking to a friend is, or speaking to somebody else is better or an easier way to solve an issue as opposed to sitting with it with yourself and writing about it? Okay, great. So let's get down to the basics and talk about what journaling actually just is, right? Journaling, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, journaling is basically just recording your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your reflections, your experiences, and after that, if you still have some time and energy, then you make sense of them using that time and space. Journaling is literally just time and space for you. There is no filter, there's no structure, there's no performance, there are no goals for you to reach. And think of journaling like a camera and a viewer, right? When you're taking photos, the camera is capturing the scenery, and then you as the viewer are experiencing it. You're being aware of the beauty, you're appreciating it. Journaling is similar. Your memory and your experience is the camera. As you're living life, they're constantly capturing it and keeping it stored inside. And then later, when you sit down with it, when you're journaling with it, that's when you are the viewer. You're re-experiencing your life through those memories and experiences you've had, and you're appreciating them more. You're taking the time to savor them, because nowadays there is no time to process all of those things as they're happening. So, journaling, So the biggest thing that we feel journaling is helped us with is I think all of us will relate to this. We all watch reels and YouTube shorts, and the range of content we consume is so insanely different. 1 second there's a reel about Gaza, Palestine. 1 second there's a cat meme. 1 second there's a food recipe that you want to try. It does not give you time to process. Before you feel rage or sadness or humor, the next second you have to start thinking about the next thing that's coming, right? AI has become such a big part of our lives now, which is constantly giving us information that is at our fingertips. Anything and everything you can ask for, it will change the way you think about it and change your voice and tone. So what does journaling do in a space that is so consumed by all of these technological things? It allows you to actually sit down with your thought. It gives you time to think, oh, I saw something today and I felt something about it. Let me actually go back and think about it for longer. You can sit down, your attention span, it gives you more time to think back on how do I actually feel about this. And when you're doing this exercise, it helps you then detach from that, because all of us who meditate, all of us here, we know that thoughts and emotions that come to us are not us. They are experiences we are having, but when you detach from it, that's when you see the full bigger picture, right? That this is only an experience that is happening to me. Journaling gives you that chance. It allows you to write down and say, actually, this was not me. It was a conditioning thought that came out. Or, oh, underlying this, there is a belief or a fear that I had, which normally when you go about on a day-to-day basis, you will judge something, you won't think about it, then you'll feel bad about judging it, and it's just a vicious cycle that never ends that way, right? So, journaling is not just like some woo-woo practice that you should do like Dear Diary. It has a lot of scientific benefits. Next slide, please. So the 3 core scientific benefits that we have seen in our experiences in our life is, first of all, there's an experiment called expressive writing that was done by a man called James Penbaker, where he asked participants to write down their most traumatic and stressful experiences into physical words on paper. And after the experiment ended, they measured that there was a significant reduction in psychological distress and improvement in their immunity levels. So journaling is not just mentally beneficial, it is also physically like a great tool. Because what happens when you're carrying psychological stress? You are building it up, you are overthinking. More than the original experience, you're reliving that experience multiple times in your head, exaggerating it, building it up. And then what happens? That expends so much of cognitive and hormonal resources on something that is not necessary, something that is in the past. Your body constantly stays in fight or flight mode, constantly thinking that'll happen again, because you're reliving it that many times, because our imagination is so powerful. When you visualize it, your body goes back into that traumatic experience. So when you're journaling, when you give yourself time to sit down and write, okay, this happened, this is done, now let's move on. Your body can finally, your nervous system can finally take a breather and say, it's okay, it's in the past. You stop doing that and you come back to a natural, healthy state where cortisol is not building up in your system because of this. The second thing is identifying emotions, right? We feel 10,000 things in a day because we are constantly rushing through everything. You feel suffocation, you feel jittery, you feel stress, something in the stomach is weird, but you don't know what's coming from where. But when you end the day with journaling and you actually go back and think about where did each of these come from, you give your emotion a name and you see how that changes the way you process it. Because otherwise you're just trying to fight with an unknown entity of a mixed bag of things. Say you said, okay, I felt anger today. That gives you a better way to process it. It increases the activity in the amygdala, which is your threat response center, and it decreases activity in the threat response center and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is your center for regulating emotion and for reasoning with emotion. So you can process everything that happened better. And the last and final thing is that it reduces cognitive load, and this is my personal favorite. Sometimes journaling isn't about healing. It's not about trauma, changing life experiences, nothing about that. Sometimes I just want to empty my brain. Okay? And when you wake up and you just do your journaling and the cognitive load is just gone, mental clutter is gone, you make space for new ideas, new experiences that you are now going to experience when the day starts. So, just a little personal anecdote. For me, when I have been journaling, I do limiting belief journaling. So I started a business with my friend, and obviously that comes with a ton of insecurities you have. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not contributing enough for this. I don't have the necessary skill for this. And it was eating me up day in, day out. And so then we have a workbook that we have created, and in that we have a section for limiting beliefs. So I started just writing, okay, today I thought I'm not good enough for this. And then I wrote the opposite belief saying, actually, I have the necessary skill for this. If I have started this, that means it's come to me for a reason. I bring this to the table, I bring that to the table. I wrote all of these down. I did this for 3-4 days. First, obviously, it feels silly anytime, lying to yourself. And then when 4th day came around, I wasn't even actively thinking about it. 4th day came around and I was having some discussion and I was feeling down, and immediately, before my brain could think about the negative thought, I actually felt the shift where my brain was like, no, you are not enough for this. You are good enough for this. Like, that shift was so natural, and only over a course of 4 or 5 days of actively writing down the opposite of what I was feeling, identifying it and saying, no, this is not my future. This is not my present. This is not the way I'm going to think. So before we go on to the second part of journaling, can we do a little exercise? Because we spoke about cognitive load and all of that. You all have your journals as they announced, right? So if you can write down, we'll take 5 minutes. Write down a problem or something that you have been obsessing over for the last few days. Something that is running in your mind continuously, or something that you've tried speaking to your friends, your parents, your partners, but it's still nagging, it's still not resolved in you. Why don't you try sitting down with yourself? Write whatever comes to mind about it. Stream of consciousness, just write what's in your head. If you want to do it analytically, write down, okay, my problem is this, how do I feel about this? However you like, there are no rules. But take your time and mindfully write about it. So let's take 5 minutes and please. I believe some of us don't have journals here, right? I think if you have the mandala coloring sheets, you could just use the back of that as well to write on. How are you guys doing? Do you need more time or done? So how was it? Like, were you able to write easily? We saw some people were writing, some people wrote one sentence and stopped and were just looking here and there. So anybody? Okay, show of hands then. How many of you have, like, how easy was it for some of you guys to write about it immediately? You were able to go for all 5 minutes you were writing. Amazing, very nice. How many of you struggled to put down words, put your thoughts into words? Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, the key to both sides of it, when you enjoyed it and you didn't, is figuring out the type of journaling that works for you, because journaling, there is, like we said in the start, there is no rule, there is no structure, and also consistency, which she will speak about. So, yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about the last activity really quick, okay? How many of you struggled to start writing at all? Like, show of hands. Like, I don't know where to start. I have a lot of thoughts. What do I do now? Okay, it's like 30% of you. Okay, fine. How many of you think there is only one way to journal, which is like writing? Okay. All right. So we'll just get into it then. I'm going to be talking about 4 types of journaling. When we speak to people, we've often heard people say, well, I don't write anymore. That is the first one. Second is, I don't know where to start. So I'm going to be talking to you about 4 different types of journaling that you can do, especially if there are days when you're facing a block, let's say. So we'll start with gratitude journaling. Now, everyone here knows what gratitude is, right? Like, you're showing appreciation towards anything. It could be a family, to yourself, something good that happened. Now, why do we do gratitude journaling? It's basically you shifting yourself out of thinking about only negative things. Because normally when you journal, you're reactive. You're writing about the emotions that are coming, and most of the times it's negative if you notice. So actively practicing gratitude journaling will help you shift out of that state of mind, which means your brain is now releasing oxytocin. Oxytocin is your natural pain reliever. So the stress level goes down. And in fact, you will notice that over a period of time, if you are doing this consistently, your inflammation in the body goes down, because whatever emotions you're holding is now out and on paper, and you have expressed and identified what are the positive things. The second one, which is my personal favorite, is visual journaling. I'm an artist, and for me, sometimes words fail me. I'm going to be honest. So visual journaling is my favorite thing to do. It's anything. You can doodle, you can collage. I think collage is something very underrated. People don't use their journals enough to collage, you know. Sometimes just sit with shapes, sit with different colors, you know, whatever feels comfortable. You don't have to be an artist. In fact, you can just start drawing anything. And it is scientifically proven that when you move shapes and colors around the paper, you know, you're breaking down complex emotions that, you know, sometimes you can't find the words, but you're able to process it when you're drawing, right? Moving into the third type, which is your morning journaling, which is basically, this one is actually like well researched. What you do is you wake up in the morning, and out of your consciousness, before you do anything else, you handwrite 3 pages and clear out any dump that is there in your subconscious from when you were sleeping. What this does is essentially it helps you offload anything in your subconscious mind, and it helps you to stop attacking yourself early in the morning. A lot of us wake up stressed, or, you know, we wake up and we're like, there's so many things to do. This basically helps you start and say, you know, I'm going to be kinder to myself. Like, you know, I have time for myself this morning, as opposed to worrying about 30 things that can happen over the course of the day, right? And the last one, which is reflective journaling, which I think a lot of us do naturally for all people who are journaling actively or even inconsistently. It's, you're just recording your daily events, just emotions and feelings based on, well, you know, my day was good or my day was bad. And this is one of the most active forms of journaling that we have learned about. So now, having spoken about the 4 types of journaling, I also want to talk about reactive and proactive journaling, which is, a lot of times you'll find yourself like, okay, so we speak to a lot of people, right? And they say, I have a journal, it's lying in the corner, I don't remember the last time I used it. Which is fair. A lot of us don't do proactive journaling. A lot of us only do reactive journaling, which essentially means when you're going through something hard in life, when you're trying to process difficult emotions, or you've had a bad day, or you're feeling anger towards something, then you write, and, you know, you're processing it, you're feeling better right after, you know, it's like more to reduce the stress, which completely works. But I do want to talk to you about proactive journaling because there are some amazing benefits that people don't realize. I think me, myself, and I, Alekhya, and a lot of people we speak to often say, I really struggle with consistency. It could be a lot of things. I think one tool that has helped me prove that wrong in my life was journaling. And believe me, like I've been journaling for a long time, but it was never as consistent as I would have liked it to be. But I can say over the last 3 to 4 years, if not daily, weekly, once a day, I come back at the same time, no matter what mood I'm in, and I write. Okay? And I write whatever. It doesn't matter. What this does is, it helps you stabilize your emotions. Like you don't realize, but over a period of time, you learn that I'm going to consciously come back on this day at this time, or, on this day of the week only at this time, and I'm going to come and write everything, which means I'm separating my thought from the emotion, which she spoke about earlier, which is such an important thing when it comes to regulating emotions. Is there something that you guys relate with? Like, I want to understand, and show of hands, do you feel that sometimes you have so much overload of information, emotion, everything, you don't know where to start? Like, is that something that you agree with? Yeah? Okay, fab. So, we are going to then go into an exercise. But the last thing I'll share is, for me, journaling is a very personal experience. And I have my days. There are days when I write one word. There are days when I don't know what to write, so I write an affirmation. That's an idea in case you don't know where to start. And the third is, there are days when I write 15 pages, and that doesn't mean all of it makes sense. I start writing, I've suddenly lost train of thought, so I'm doodling, and then, I'm just writing words. Sometimes I'm just writing goals. So it's everything. And literally there are no rules. You can do anything you want. And I promise you'll feel better after that, so that's what matters. So here's what we're going to do. You guys have already spent half your day, right? Like half the day is over. You're going to start with writing for 3 minutes about how your first half of the day was. So we're going to go into reflective writing, okay? And then once that's done, I'll give you the instructions for the second half of it. So start now. Okay. Can you raise your hands if you guys are done? Okay. We'll give it another 2 minutes, yeah? You guys can play the music, by the way. Yeah. Okay, so while the music plays, once you're done with the reflection part, we want you guys to think about what you want the rest of this day to go like. We want you to really visualize. We want you to write what you want to feel in detail. And there'll just be some music playing in the background. And you can do this for the next 5 minutes, okay?
And if you want, you can do the visual journaling for this part. Draw mind maps, draw pictures. If you have multiple colored pens, possibly. But yeah, try the visual exercise for this part to see how you want the rest of your day to go.
Get creative.